Om Shri Sairam. We shall all start this meeting with a prayer. We start with Sai Gayatri. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Offering our collective salutations at the lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Actually, the whole world is going through tough times, but here we are, congregated together in this virtual platform in an attempt to reconnect with each other and connect to God by talking about Him, by thinking about Him, and also by glorifying His love, which flows perennially through contours and countries. Today, I have been given this pleasant duty of introducing two speakers for this Connect to Reconnect series, who are handpicked instruments of Swami, and currently both of these instruments are shouldering lead roles in the divine mission. Actually, if I remember, I remember Swami actually mentioning this, that working for God is, he had mentioned that working for God is basically a blessing, but working with God is an honor. So the first speaker whom we have is someone who is enjoying this unique privilege of working with Swami. She's none other than Sister Bhuvana Santhanam. On a lighter note, I would definitely want to mention this. She's an ex-Anantapurian. She's my junior, and I remember, few instances from my Anantapur days. Actually, she used to serve dinner in the dining hall, and there used to be literally mountain of rice which used to be served. Sometimes I used to take her help secretly so that I can remove some bit of the rice and put it back in the rice vessel before I start eating my dinner. I mean, this is just on a lighter note. Nevertheless, Sister Bhuvana Santhanam is a hardworking, dedicated, a very pious person, and she had a promising career once she stepped out of the portals of the institute, because she had an opportunity to pursue her strategic business management course in Harvard Business School in Boston, post which she has had a rich experience of over 2 decades in brand marketing as well as in corporate social responsibilities. And she's also had an opportunity to be a national director for one of the firms which took charge of image management. Today, she is actually spearheading the global outreach program, and she works based out of Muddanahalli. But apart from this, I would want to make a very significant point about her. Actually, till 2012, her life was, in a very sequential manner. But when she had the clarion call from Bhagwan, it took a beautiful turn. And in 2015, she totally gave up her lucrative career and she joined the mission of Swami here in Muddanahalli. So right from micromanaging various events which happen here to, writing a lot of books. I'm sure many of you are aware that she's written a lot of books, the Love Beyond Boundaries series, and also the coffee table books of stalwart devotees such as late Sri Indulal Shahji, late Mandolin Maestro Sri U. Srinivas, and also of our own Sadguru, Sri Madhusudan Sai, which is titled as Karishye Vachanam Tava. Apart from this, she's also penned Swami's travel logs because she had the unique opportunity of traveling with Swami to various countries. So today, it is, I feel it as a very, special honor to invite Sister Bhuvana to address all of us. Over to Sister Bhuvana.
Sai Ram. Thank you very much for that wonderful, I would say rather too long introduction. Can everybody hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, sister. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sai Ram. I definitely did not expect Vidya to talk about our little dinner serving secrets, which we sort of all of us went through at the hostel when we were studying. But like she said, on a lighter note, we all have our memories, and we all have, we've seen a lot through the years being with Swami. And in fact, when I got the call a few days ago, Sister Sai Lakshmi called me and she said, Sister, can you please share your thoughts? I just took it as a call from Swami. Then when she asked me, she said, what is the topic we can put in our flyer? So I wasn't very sure. And I said, I really don't know. Let's see. And then after a couple of days, I saw the flyer, which was already made. And there was a topic which was already there, which said, living with God is true education. So I just took it as that's what Swami wanted me to talk about. Truly, it has been a very wonderful journey, if I might call it. Living with God is true education. I remember when I was a little girl, all that I wanted to do was to be in his presence. I wanted to be with Swami all the time. So the only thought which kept sort of coming back to me again and again was that I want to be with him. I was very, very clear. I didn't want anything other than to be with him. And so obviously I didn't want to go anywhere. I wanted to study in his university, to be in his presence all the time. And he did have other plans when he said, after I finished my graduation, when he said, no, you have to go out and I will call you at a time when it is appropriate. That's what he said. He said, you will come back, but not now. Now is not the time. He said, I want you to go. I want you to be with your family, and I will let you know when you will come. And then when I went back to the Gulf where my parents were, I very clearly, very, very clearly remember, it was like it happened yesterday. It was in the year, it was towards the end of 2010, actually. I think possibly after Swami's birthday sometime. When I was still in Dubai, I got a call from one of another alumni, actually. And she called and said, see, so-and-so has come from Puttaparthi. Swami has sent him. And I was very excited because he is still rather a very, very well-known personality who enjoyed Swami's proximity immensely, who was always around Swami. And he had come to Dubai. And so she said, he wants to meet all the alumni who are there in Dubai, is what she said. And I was somebody who, because of my very busy corporate life, I wasn't very active in the center, in the Sai Center in Dubai. I would go once in a while, and that was it. And when she told me, I said, okay, I will come for this satsang. So I went for the satsang, and to cut a long story short, I remember very vividly, for whatever reason, though Dubai has a lot of alumni, only 5 of us landed up being at that particular satsang where this gentleman had arrived from Prashanti Mantra. And after the satsang and after the bhajans and everything got over, he took us to a side. He said, I've come with a message from Swami. And he said, so I want to talk to you all separately. So what happened? So we said, okay. And the 5 of us were taken into another room. I remember very clearly, we were 2 of us from Anantapur and there were 3 brothers from the Prashant Nilayam campus. And as soon as we got into the room, this person said that I have come to all of you with a message from Swami. And the message is that Swami has said, the time has come for my students who are around the world to come back to India. And in fact, as I'm saying it, I'm having goosebumps. And so immediately we looked at him and said, sir, so does Swami want us to quit our jobs and quit what we are doing and come? He said, see, that's up to you. I'm only a messenger. Swami has sent me with a message to say that the time has come for my alumni to come back. And this was, like I said, sometime towards the end of 2011. 2010. And then we all know what happened in April 2011. So when that happened, of course, like I've shared in many forums before, I knew that that wasn't the end. I just knew very well that there is, or there was more to come. And so when I did get the call sometime in 2011, that, Swami is communicating through a former alumni, and he's communicating through a former student. So I just knew in my heart the time had come for me. And I immediately took the next flight, and I flew down for the weekend. And like I always say, the rest is history. I came back, I resigned, and I knew that that is possibly what Swami wanted me to do when he sent that messenger towards the end of 2010. And I knew that, and to come back to it, out of the 5 of us who were there in that meeting, I think the 4 are still living in Dubai. So I thought that, today when I look back at it, I think it was meant to be. And when God chooses, and when God gives us the opportunities, and then he just puts it out there, it is for us to be able to take it and to be able to sort of move forward in life. And ever since, in fact, I remember, one day Swami told me, he said, when your head is empty, only then my thoughts can enter. I want you to be empty, he said. And this statement of, when he made the statement, I wasn't mature enough to understand what he meant. So I just said, okay, so I must empty myself means, okay, what am I supposed to do? And then I just told Swami in my heart, I said, okay, you've told me, and you've said, when your head is empty, only then my thoughts can enter. I want you to be empty is what you've told me. Now, please help me, or please make me become empty. So, so this, brothers and sisters, has been my journey of, I would say, emptying myself. Because today, when I look back in retrospect, every situation in a day that I have possibly gone through was towards this one statement he made. Because to me, I feel that the profundity of this statement cannot be understated. So, and like I said, when I saw the topic in the poster, which said living with God is true education, in fact, it has been, because this is the journey of emptiness, which Swami slowly made me learn as I came back. And after that, when I started, like I say, working with him, working for him, this sort of took center stage for me. And I remember once we were in some country. There were a lot of youth, there at that. It was a youth meet, and there was one youth who was, clicking pictures. Swami immediately looked at this youth and said, "See, just like this cameraman, always remember that God is also taking pictures of you. So you should always be ready. You do not know when he's going to click your picture, he said. And then as I pondered more about that statement that he made that day, I realized that it just means that we have to be ready at all times. We have to be available at all times. It is like, it's like saying yes to God at all times. It is about, having our having our abilities to the various challenges which life throws at us. And yes, it's about the time when the undone begins to get done, when we say that yes to him. And I knew in my heart when he made that statement, I had told him, I had said a yes in my heart when I was a little girl, and there is no way that I'm, sort of going back to this and going back on this journey. And then when I sort of connected the two with, what the Swami had told me about being empty, and about the fact that I wanted to be with him. And brothers and sisters, when I was a little girl, for me, being with him was always being in his presence. So I wanted to always be in his presence, because there is this inexplicable joy which we all know, which we derive when we are in his presence. And then somehow these two sort of connected within me. I said, okay, so if I have to empty myself, which means it's about allowing God to take over. And when that happens, what happens? But at the same time, if I want to be in the presence of God, what is it that I need to be, or what is it I need to do? I mean, I was thinking that I have to do something at all times for me to be able to sort of, be empty and enjoy that presence at all times, which is far beyond the physical presence that we enjoy at all times. It is about wherever we are. How is it that if we were to just close our eyes, how is it that we can enjoy that same joy and that same bliss? So that is how it started for me. And then I realized that when we say yes, and then when for sure he takes over, and then how and what he takes over, he takes over our capacities, and then they become infinite. And that is what I realized and I experienced every single day. That I used to come back and I was to wonder, is this me? Have I, was I capable of doing this? Or, was I capable of, saying this? Or am I capable of taking this up? Then I slowly realized that, this is all part of that journey, in which we are all in. That for all of us, God has become that most, I would say, that most magnificent obsession. He's so beautiful, he's so wonderful, he's so amazing. But sometimes we have to ask ourselves this question: why has man become a passionate obsession to God? Why should God sit and give us all these discourses? And why should he take us through all these teachings and learnings? And I mean, the only thing I can say is that we can only thank him, because he has chosen us. Like he says, if you choose me, then you deserve me. If you need me, then you deserve me, is what Swami has always said. And we can never underestimate how we've been chosen, for what we've been chosen, the role that we are playing. It is like he says, it's for each one of us, which we have been experiencing through many lifetimes, many lifetimes. And he has always said this to us, and it is up to us to believe that that we are chosen for a specific purpose, and it is about uh, um, having that and keeping that in mind actually at all times. Why is it and how is it that we are chosen? Actually, this uh, reminds me, a very, very beautiful incident which happened in one of the countries. So we were traveling with Swami, and there was a group of devotees from another country who had come, and there was a monk as part of that group. Now, they had come to see Swami, and Swami was visiting this country for the very, very first time. And they had heard about the visit. This was about a few years ago, this was about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And so they had come to see Swami, and so Swami called them for an interview. They were about, I would say, maybe about 7 or 8 of them in that room. And typically, what would happen is I would be standing at the door, and people would go inside, and I would shut the interview door after the devotees would go in. And that day, what happened for this particular interview, as I was shutting the door after allowing them inside the interview room, Swami looked at me and he said, "Come in and sit down." Um, so for a second, I just stood. I didn't realize what he said. And then he said, "Hey, Bhuvana, Lopal Kira," he said, "come inside, sit in that corner," he said. So I realized that he wanted me to, for whatever reason, be part of an interview. Then the thought crossed my mind. It says, I haven't heard, any interview where it's a group of people, and Swami calls somebody else to sit and witness the interview. So I said, okay, there has to be something out of this. So I went and shut the door, and I sat right at the end of the interview room. Swami started talking to them, and it was so beautiful because he went to each one of them and to give them that sort of that added faith that it was indeed him, because this was in the early stages when Swami started traveling to the other countries. So he started speaking to each one of them. So, and in that process came the monk. And Swami started revealing about him, because all that the monk did was he was crying profusely. He only cried in the presence of Swami. And then Swami started revealing about this monk. He said, he has never come to Puttaparthi. He has never seen me in the physical, but he knows it is me, he said. And he looked at this man and he said, isn't it? And the man, mustered some strength, because he was absolutely, he was sobbing his way through. And he said, yes, Swami, you are absolutely right. I never had the chance to travel all the way and come to Budapest. All these years, I have finally come face to face with you. So then immediately Swami said, yes, I know that this presence is the ultimate presence, he said. Then immediately Swami said, when did you start looking out for God? He asked him. So then this monk said, he said, when I was 3 years old, I ran away from home in search of God, is what the monk said. So immediately Swami looked at all of us, and then he looked at me and he said, see, when he was 3 years old, he ran away from home in search of God. And then there was a profound silence after he said that. And then Swami started talking to all the other people in the room, and each one, the interview lasted for more than an hour. And after, it was such a blissful and a beautiful interview. Then after the interview got over, everybody started filing out of the interview room. And everybody left, and Swami looked at me and said, shut the door, come and sit here, he said. So I shut the door and I went and sat at his feet. He said, what did you learn from this? He asked. So I just kept quiet, because that is one thing I've learned through when he asks you something. it's better you keep quiet, because there is definitely a more profound answer coming from him. So I just looked up at him with folded hands. He said, did you hear what the monk said? When he was 3 years old, he ran away from home. He ran away from a home in search of God. And today, after 50, 60 years, he's come face to face with God. What does this say? So again, I kept quiet. I didn't tell anything. And then Swami said, see, that is because of what he did. And that is obviously from previous vasanas and previous karmas, that he understood even at the tender age of 3, that to life there was much more. It is all about God. And then he looked at me and he said, and look at you. He said, and he made a face. He said, and look at you. I kept quiet. I didn't say anything. He said, and you are sitting at my feet just like that, he said. So then I started shedding tears. I said, Swami, it's only your gratitude. I mean, it's only your mercy that I'm seated at your feet. So much gratitude for that, Swami, is what I said. And then he said, always remember in your life that whoever I pick to do a particular job, whoever I embrace, for whatever is the role I give them, it is for a reason. So never forget that. And he said one more thing. He said, one more thing I want you to remember all your life is to be with God every day, you have to earn it. Every single day, your khata opens and closes, which means your account opens and closes at the end of every day. So if you want to be with God the next day, it means you should earn it. You should do something and you should earn it. So this was again one of the learnings, one of the profound pearls that I received from Swami. Sorry, my phone is switching off for some reason. I'm just going to stop the video and put it on charge. But I'll continue speaking. Is that okay? I'm sorry about it. Suresh brother, is that okay? Sharath?
That's
Yeah, we
fine.
can.
Bhuvana.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. I'm just going to stop it for a moment. So like I said, that was the journey and how that started, where every single moment he said, you must remember this truth. You must remember the fact that you have to earn it to be with God the next day. So I started looking at it, from a perspective that, okay, so if I have to be with God, and to me at that point in time, it was still at that very physical level. So I said, okay, so which means that, I have to do something so that I will be in his physical presence the next day also. But then slowly, Swami made me understand that it is not about that physical presence. It is in fact truly about experiencing his presence. And how can we experience his presence is only by being empty. And then he told me, and then after a few days, as our trip continued, he said, see, we may have seen many miracles of, we may have, heard many miracles. Then he said, haven't you? I said, yes, Swami, I have. He said, see, more and more is going to happen in the future. This is only the very beginning. Much more is going to happen. He said, don't settle for less. He said, don't just think that, wow, a miracle has happened and, you are enjoying it, or you feel blissful. He said, don't stop it at that. He said, there is something more you ought to achieve out of this newfound association, he said. He said, this is a newfound association. So I looked at him and I said, Swami, newfound? He said, see, newfound, when I say newfound, I mean the fact that you were in my college and then you left. And after that, though you would pray, you would come to see me in Prashanti Nilayam. Today, you have realized that it is the same Satya Sai, it is the same continuing presence. So don't, stay in that limited existence of yours. You must learn to be what I want each one of you to be, he said. He said, and that is nothing less than being God. This was a few years ago. And like I said, I still didn't have that maturity to understand or to be able to fathom that, what he said. But I do remember one thing. Then after a few months, we were in another country, and Swami recalled this, this conversation, and he said, do you know what it is to become empty? Do you know where you need to start? He asked. So again, I was quiet. I didn't say anything. He said, first of all, be courageous. You have to learn to be courageous, because only when you are courageous, he said, in fact, if I remember it correctly, his exact words were, it requires some courage to give up your ideas, to give up your thoughts, to give up your likes, to give up your dislikes, and to give up your preferences. He said, that requires a lot of courage. That individuality must go. And this is the courage, brothers and sisters, Swami is demanding from us. I would say he's not even asking, he's demanding from us. And this is valid for all of us, each and every one of us, to be able to give up all that we are or we think, like Swami put it so beautifully, our our ideas and thoughts and likes and dislikes and preferences, to what is actually there out for us through him, by him, for him, and ultimately him. Because like he says, with courage, you then learn to have no fear and no shame. He said, I remember Swami saying this many, many, many times. He said, one of the first steps in spirituality is to have no fear and no shame, because he puts us through such situations, such moments, such challenges, every single day in our life, where we learn to put that fear and shame away. And Swami taught me that step by step. He will make you squash it. He will squash it. He will throw it out of the window. Like he says, I will break you to make you. And he had told me, he said, see, I'm going to put you on a path which is not going to be easy. You will be loved, you will be blamed, you will be, he said a lot of things. He said, you will pass through everything else, but do remember that this is the path of God, and this is the path so that ultimately your small I will realize that self, this body, this identity will realize that end of the day, it is about the ultimate I, or the bigger I, as Swami calls it, which actually drives you, which actually puts everything into you, which actually tries to say at all times that, hey, I am there, I'm the one who's driving you. But then like Swami says, we don't want to leave it. And that reminds me of a very another example. One day I was serving Swami, and that day what happened was, they were serving bowls, and there were no proper serving spoons. So there were only the eating spoons which were there. So I started serving rice to him, and I had to take the small spoon. So, I mean, if it was a serving ladle, I would have possibly put one ladle on his plate. But because it was a very small spoon, I had to serve that same quantity of rice multiple times. And as we all know, Swami, every single opportunity, uh, is a teaching experience for him. So he looked at me and he said, "See, you're serving with such small spoons, but if you would have served with a larger spoon, you would have possibly served it all at one go," he said. And then he said, "But you see, you're not willing to give up the small spoon. Well, I want to give you the large spoon." So I knew that this was, a discussion which was going in a very, very different direction. So I said, "Swami, yes, I don't mind giving the smaller spoon for a larger spoon." And then he immediately said, "But how many of you are willing to do that for me? How many of you are willing to let go of your prejudices, let go of, all that is within you, let go of every single thing? And how many of you are willing to just hand over everything to me so that I give you what I want to give you?" So to me, it is every single moment, there is something which he is teaching us, and through which we are learning how to let go of ourselves and let go of our individuality. I remember once Swami speaking to a group of devotees. In fact, this was actually last year before the lockdown, when we had gone on the Far East trip. And Swami said, "See, I have come here not to just discuss spirituality," he said. "We have had enough discussions in the past." He said, "I'm here to act spirituality." He said, "Speaking about spirituality was over a long time ago. Now is the time to act. So we all need to act," he said. And acting spirituality, like he says, what is spirituality? When he says it's only love. But then how do we develop love unabashed, unabated? How is it that we develop that love? Is when we give up all this prejudices that we have, and when we give up everything which we truly believe is ours, is us, or makes us, or identifies us with something. And that is when we are able to sort of give it all up. um, uh, so that was one huge lesson for me, where he said, to be courageous, to be able to walk on this path. And in fact, over the last couple of years, I've experienced this myself. I remember, a few times when I would go and stand at the podium to, say, introduce or to start off a session. um, I would be completely blank to see, and I wouldn't know what I was going to go and say or utter. And many times when I would go to take namaskar, Swami would look at me and say, "And so what are you going to say?" I'd say, "I don't know, Swami, you have to speak." So then he would, smile and say, "Yes." And I'm sure everybody's heard this, where even, a couple of Dashara time, or a couple of other discourses, where Swami has said, "Oh, whatever I wanted to speak, Bhuvana has already spoken." So one of those times, what there was a break, and then there was a cultural program after that. So Swami called for me backstage, and he said, "Hey, you spoke whatever I wanted to speak. Why did you speak whatever I wanted to speak?" He asked. So then I immediately looked at Swami and said, "Swami, you spoke through me, because I had no clue that this is what I was supposed to speak, and you spoke." And then that is when he said, "See, it is all part of the divine will that this thought had to be discussed." He said, "This is the kind of autopilot mode which you need to lead, at all times, because only when you are in tune, this will happen. He said, I've just given you a small trailer. He said, for you to be able to experience this every single time, what you have to do is you have to be calm and clear in your head. And then he, his glass tumbler was next to him. He said, see, air is waiting to enter this tumbler. If you throw the water out, the air will enter this tumbler. In fact, it is instantaneous. He said, actually, there's no time lost. You throw the water out and instantly the air fills inside this tumbler. So the same way, remember that God is waiting to occupy you. He said, but people don't allow that. No, he said, people don't allow that. No, he said, see, God does not enter. God is already there. He said, and when you throw the water which is there inside, and when God occupies you, he said, you verily become God. He said, you need to understand that. And then he made a very, very, very profound statement, which is, etched in my memory, and which I always try and remember at all times. He said, see, the extent of your emptiness is the extent of your divinity. Then and there, God will occupy, that Brahman will occupy, because that Brahman is there in you. He said, the extent of your emptiness, he repeated it. He said, the extent of your emptiness is the extent of your divinity. Because, brothers and sisters, it's there are billions of people on this earth. And for us to be able to have this opportunity to be able to learn and to at least theoretically understand the fact that this life is not about eating, sleeping, and making merry, but there is a higher purpose to life. Itself, I mean, it's a huge opportunity for us, because like he always says, there is at some point in life, during many births, you have prayed intensely that you want to be with God. And this is the answer, brothers and sisters, God has given us. Because this is an opportunity which we cannot undermine. I remember once this Sadhguru had shared this, which is also there in as one of the snippets in the interview book, where somebody had actually written a letter to Swami saying, Swami, we have been living for God, and now we are living with God. How can we live in God, is what somebody had written. And Swami replied so beautifully. He said, see, living with God is fine, but only when it becomes impossible for you to live without God can you progress and reach the feeling of living in God, he said. So, every single moment is that experience for us. Every single moment, we are all on that journey. And me specifically, I'm on that journey of, like he told me, to you be empty. And when you be empty and when you become empty, I will occupy you. And then that very instant, you become God. I think I've taken a lot of time. I just want to very quickly conclude with one very powerful statement again, Swami said. And it is also something for all of us to keep in mind at all times, because it is what we have all come on this earth to do. He said, see, it is no more a choice for us. God, there is a responsibility on us to become God, to behave and be like God. It's not a choice anymore. It's not a choice. He's not giving us a choice. He wants it to happen, and it is a huge responsibility for all of us to become God. Sai-Ram.
Thank you, Bhuvana. That was really an enlightening talk, because it has given us trailers of what true education is, in the journey of us, of all of us, in fact, from, living, thinking of God, and then, towards being God, and, and your, actually your learnings, what you've shared so generously, I'm sure it's going to be useful for a lot of us, because all these are practical snippets of Paravidya learnings in a way. So we are very grateful to Swami, for willing this and making this happen. I also wanted to, share this to all the participants. Any specific questions that you have for the speakers, kindly, towards the end of this event, we will have the speakers address these questions. So without wasting much time, we will move on to the next speaker. Now, before I introduce Brother Bharath, just giving you, a basic information. All of us know that Swami is the fountainhead of selflessness, and all his compassion and kindness towards everybody is what has helped in bringing about mammoth projects, be it educare, or be it healthcare, or be it even the the nutrition projects. So the Sri Satya Sai Sarla Memorial Hospital is yet another mammoth project, which is all set to be inaugurated in the month of July. And once again, I'm reiterating it, it's only Swami's compassion that this hospital is gearing up to be a 150-bedded hospital as a specialized COVID care facility during these sustaining pandemic times. So in this regard, we will now have Brother Bharath addressing all of us. Just to give you a brief introduction about Brother Bharath, after finishing his engineering, Brother Bharath went on to do his master's in business administration from the Prashanti Nilayam campus. And after that, he has had a rich experience, developing businesses into marketing. He's worked in, this paper trade in one of the leading international firms. And he's also had rich experience and a lot of learnings from the corporate world. But in the year 2017, he had his clarion call, and in his deep interest and passion to serve the society, and also on divine command to be a part of his mission, he quit his lucrative career, and he was here in Mudinhalli from 2017. He is actually, spearheading various projects of Swami. He's a part of the Prashanti Bala Mandira Trust. So he takes care of these projects, and he is also playing a pivotal role in the financial management of the trust. So it is my pleasure to welcome you, Brother Bharath, for this forum where we have various participants, all of us waiting to listen to you. Over to Brother Bharath. Sai-Ram.
So hearty Sai-Ram and very good evening. I hope I'm audible. I just want to double check that once. Can any of you just confirm that? Is the audio good?
Yes, brother, you're audible.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, it was really overwhelming to hear Sister Bhuvana's experiences. And in this session, I would just like to limit the experiences to the Sarla Memorial Hospital. Whatever pertinent experiences which are there to this construction of this hospital, which very surprisingly have some leads to some experiences in Puttaparthi as well. So because it is a it's a satsang of brothers and sisters, alumni, Swami's children, I will just take the privilege and the honor of sharing those experiences, recollecting those prized possessions, I would say, from the Museum of Recollections, and then share those with you. So actually, let me cut to 2006. This was just a year after I had passed out from MBA course. It was from 2003 to 2005. And during the course of these 2 years, Swami had become the be all and end all of for me, to the extent that, working for Swami did not make sense to me. In the sense, working, I just wanted to be with him, wanted to serve him physically, just sheerly physically. It was just sheer attachment to Swami, just love for that physical form. And for me, working for Bhagwan's trust or working in any other project or anything meant a lot of distance from that beautiful physical form. And somehow that overrided everything for me. And Swami had told, during 2003, 2005, lot of interactions with Swami, lot of time. And we all know how Swami is, when he decides to shower his grace on us, he's a master in that. He makes you feel like, the whole avatar has happened only because of you. He has come only to give time to you. So, being a very thankful recipient of such, attention and time from Swami, it was this desire to be with Swami physically all the time was, very, very strong. Then 2005 I had passed out. 2005 Swami, immediately the day I passed out, Swami said, Bharath, you apply for MPhil, immediately I'll give you PhD. Now, the state of mind in which I was at that time, for me somehow, unconditional surrender to Swami, maybe I was not ripe enough, not mature to do that. For me, it was just sheer devotion, sheer attachment to that physical form. I wouldn't even call it devotion, because devotion implies surrender to Swami, implicit surrender to Swami, explicit surrender to Swami, absolute surrender to Swami. But then I wanted to be close to him. So I said, Swami, he told something, but I didn't say yes, I didn't say no, but I just kept silent. 1 year passed. And these years were very beautiful, though it is technically called as waiting time. But I had the privilege of sitting 1.1 just at his lotus feet, singing for him. He would speak once in a while. And then suddenly 2006, once again, Swami said, he called two boys. To one he said, hey, nuvu general hospital ka apply cheyi. And then he called me and said, nuvu super specialty hospital ka apply cheyi. Now for me, again, the state of mind in which I was in my own growth or whatever, phase of life I was in, the other boy was delighted, when he heard that, wow, Swami has given me an opportunity to work in his mission. He was delighted. He was on cloud 9. Whereas for me, it was just the opposite experience. Oh God, Swami, you are asking me to join the hospital. What that means is like, even there are great singers who are there in Parthi who work in hospital, and just it is 8:30 a.m. in the morning when an avatar is giving darshan here. Duty calls them; they have to leave this place and they have to run. And why should I bring duty between you and me, Swami? This was the kind of thing that was going on. It was a very disturbing experience for me. Then I said, Swami, oksari lopala pilchi maatladandi, Swami. Please call me inside once and speak to me. Then I will apply. Swami said, "Nu mundu apply cheyi, tarvata maatladtanu. First you apply, then I will speak to you." Then the next day somehow, because any conversation further with Swami would demand from me an application to the hospital. So what I did, I prepared an application with this typical photo of Swami in a black and white photo with a stethoscope on his ears. Very beautiful photo. I printed that. I wrote to him saying, Swami, this whole world is hospital. You are the divine doctor, and I want to be a compounder to you, Swami. And as every CV would have the strengths and weaknesses, I said, my only strength is your grace, and my weakness is that I cannot serve anyone else other than you. Swami just looked at it and he didn't say anything. He kept silent. And then came, years passed this way, and the year it was 2010, just 1 year before Swami physically left his frame. He asked, the darshans had become very rare at that time, and Swami was just coming for darshan, and I held the letter, and I told Swami, it's been 5 years now. You had told me that I'll be, getting an opportunity to be close to you, serve you. it's been 5 years now, Swami. And Swami, what you're doing is not right. If you want me to leave, you tell me, I leave and go. But this is not right, Swami. Swami said, Mata ichindi correcte. Yes, I had given you a promise. Kani, how can I give you a chance now? ఇప్పుడు అవకాశం ఇవ్వడానికి ఎట్లా కుదురుతుంది? How is it possible to give you a chance now? ఇప్పుడు ఎక్కువ సమయం లేదు. Now there is not much time left. Swami త్వరలో పోతున్నారు. Swami is leaving soon. This was, if I'm right, 30th of May 2010, just about a year before Swami left his physical frame. So because my prayer was always to be with Swami physically, the Swami said, no, when I am leaving physically, how can I give you a chance to serve me physically now? That was what was implied. And then I said, I just caught Swami's hand and said, Swami, meer lekunda chala kashtam. Without you, it's very difficult. And Swami said, Kucho, sit. The next day, 31st May 2010, one day before the academic year was about to start, once again, Swami was kind enough to just ask me for the letter which I was holding. And I again asked Swami, undamantara, pomantara, Swami, do you want me to stay or do you want me to leave? Swami said, Urki enduku potanu anta. Why do you say you want to go often? Stay. Then I said, Swami, stay and do what now? Anyway, now the chance of physically serving you, you said, is not there. Now, what should I do now? Okay, I'll compromise to, service to humanity. So because Swami always says, Manava Seva is Madhava Seva. For me, it was at that time when Madhava himself is there, I can always do Manava Seva later to Madhava Seva. But for now, it's a golden opportunity to serve you physically. So anyway, now that you are saying it is not there, fine, I'll settle for Manava Seva. And Swami said, ekkada cheyamantaru Swami, where do you want me to, serve now in this? Ikkada book trust is there, central trust is there, hospital is there, university is there, studio is there. Ekkada apply cheyamantaru Swami, where do you want me to apply? Swami said, Anni chusko. Look at everything, take care of everything. No, obviously, at that time when he said that, I felt, Swami is again just joking. He does not want to conclude my case, just want to leave it open-ended. And he just said, because the context being there in Puttaparthi also, students were never in leadership roles. We were all there, there serving Swami in our whatever, small roles he had given us. And nothing is big or small in that way. Everything is an offering to Swami. But then when he said, Anni chusko, I was like, okay, first of all, there is no clarity. He's not telling me which particular department or which particular, wing of the trust activities that I should apply to. Second, he's saying, look at everything. So there, this whole thing stopped. Then, of course, went to Singapore after Swami physically left his physical frame. And then this was, again in 2013, that Swami connected me again through Indulalji's family. So there was a call where Swami said that, please come. Swami wants to speak to you. So what happened after that? Just that I will just stop that there and then come back to this particular story of how I came back to, the subtle form and how what he told me at that particular time in 2013, which connects to this particular Satya Sai Sarla Memorial Hospital. I'll come to that towards the end of the session. Now that, we are all here as we are speaking today, the Satya Sai Sarla Memorial Hospital is, the construction work is going on in full swing now. Close to about 50 people, workers, masons, electrical people, plumbing people are all working on this project. When I joined this Prashanti Balamandira Trust, that is Swami's subtle phenomenon, in the year 2017, this was the first work order which was signed. This was in the year 2017, Satsai Sarla Memorial Hospital. So you can just gather it's almost 3.5 to 4 years since this project has begun. And it started off as a mother and child care hospital to start off with. And Swami always has this love for unique architecture, be it a school building, be it a hostel building. So he decided that this hospital has to be in the shape of a swastika. And swastika, as most of you would be knowing, swastika means something which is conducive to well-being. Something which is conducive to well-being. And by virtue of being a hospital, of course, being in a shape of a swastika added that particular dimension of a well-being to the hospital. And by virtue of being a swastika shape, it is also a very beautiful architecture where it enables a lot of ventilation, lot of light, and a lot of place for landscape and all that. Swami typically does not want this hospital to look like a hospital. He said that it should be full of surprises. It should be full of, joy. The element of joy and life has to be there, inculcated in the architecture, in the landscape, in the hardscape of this project. So yes, this started off as a mother and child care hospital when it was conceived in 2017. Later, Swami said that this should be a multi-speciality hospital. A little later, he said that we should also make this hospital an academic hospital. We should have a DNB accreditation for this hospital. It's a diploma in national board. It's a diploma course. So we should have the hospital designed in such a way that it is capable of receiving accreditation for a medical course, DNB course. So obviously, then we went through all the rules, the regulations and all, what qualifies a hospital to become an academic hospital for DNB course. And it entailed that the hospital should have a minimum of 150 beds, which was not the case with our bed strength earlier. It was about close to 100 beds. So quickly we had to change the plans in a manner that it had to be ramped up by another 50 beds so that it qualifies for this accreditation. So once again, there were changes in the floor plans. Once again, we made it ready for Swami. And then came the last as of now, the last change where Swami said, in the current scenario of COVID, where the country is totally under equipped with the kind of medical infrastructure that it needs to take on, considering the patient load of victims of COVID virus who need hospitalization. We will have to make this hospital ready in such a way that it is able to offer itself in service to nation as a COVID hospital as well. This was, I would say, as recent as maybe about a month back. So Swami says, love my uncertainty. And here, we were experiencing this with this project time and again. But then it is a great opportunity. The dynamism which is associated with Swami. And obviously there are challenges. There are so many contractors, there are so many consultants who are involved in the project. But then the miracle of miracles is that, everybody is ready to do this. From the contractor who has to make the wall and break it again, from the electrical consultant who has to, do the whole electric circuit again, because again, we are adding this 50 beds. So some watts had to be changed to some other watts. Some places watts had to be created. So some departments had to be made small or to be moved somewhere else. So everybody was up to the game. Said, yes, we will do it. Yes, we will do it. And even in these times when, mobilizing labor, mobilizing material is a challenge, Swami is moving strings through all these people and, getting this work happen. So then now, by virtue of being a COVID hospital, what does this mean? We all know that the need of the hour right now is oxygen, the elixir of life. So it needed that all the 150 beds need to be oxygenated. So we had to work on the whole gas matrix of this particular hospital, redo it in such a way that all the 150 beds are oxygenated. And then when we were wondering why are so many changes happening, and why are we venturing into this again? Swami said, see, the soul behind this decision is this. Today, the people who are hit the most by this virus are in the urban areas. It is moving towards the rural areas. In general, as a general pattern in the country, it is moving towards the rural areas as well. It is not just limited to the urban areas. And our health infrastructure in the urban areas is as such very less. We are very under-equipped. We can't take this kind of load. And typically they say about 20 to 30% of people who are victims to this virus need hospitalization, and about 10 to 15% of the people need the ICU support based on the kind of comorbidities that they have or the age limit to which they belong. And he said, first of all, we need to do this because we are demanded of this ramp up in terms of infrastructure. Secondly, any person who is admitted into a hospital kind of a scenario for this virus to undertake treatment will have to stay typically for about 10 to 15 days. And he will end up shelling about 10 to 15 lakhs of rupees in this course of hospitalization. How many can afford this? How many can afford this? And people in rural India just forget it. Given our only alternative they have is to government hospitals, which itself is very limited. So our hospital, all the 150 bed hospitals, of course, all of Swami's hospitals do not have a billing counter at all. All of Swami's schools do not have a bill book at all. It's all free of cost. So he said, we need to save this. We need to save this. And then he prepared a beautiful, workout of how much it would cost per bed for this hospital. And then the cost of that per bed actually worked out to the cost of what it would cost for a patient if he was, for a COVID patient, if he got hospitalized and would be admitted to the hospital, which worked out to about 16 to 16.5 lakhs. Now, how we came to this figure was in the total infrastructure of the project. The civil, the electrical, the plumbing, all the equipments put together, divided by 150, it came to about 16.5 lakhs, which was the cost per bed, which is again, once a contribution on this front is done, which is actually a bill paid by, typically average bill, paid by a patient. This will actually be an investment for a long time where a lot of people can get this free benefit just by this one, contribution. And we have seen overwhelming, response to this one. So many people from all over the world coming forward, and it's been a deluge of cascade of compassion, I would say. Everybody is touched. How it means to a person somewhere sitting in UK or somewhere sitting in Australia or Fiji to really think that some hospital in Chikbalapur needs this. But then that is the magic of Swami. The moment this word spread, immediately people started, people got touched, and immediately this contribution started coming in the spirit of this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which Swami always says. So it was a great experience. It is a great experience, witnessing this kind of an action from, Swami's devotees and people worldwide. So I'll just share, a kind of a small short presentation on the hospital. Can you see the screen? Can someone just confirm? Can you see the screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, brother, we can see.
Yes, brother.
Okay, so this is an architect's impression of the hospital, and as typical of any of Swami's, hospitals, it does not look like a hospital. It looks like a temple of healing. Swami's schools look like temples of learning, and Swami's hospitals are very truly, temples of healing. So with all the typical Shilpi elements and all that. And, see the magic, the same Shilpi who did all these works for Swami from Ganesha temple onwards in Puttaparthi to the Mandir, to the Bhajan hall, to, the Prashanti Mandir, the Gayatri temple, the Murugan temple, Subramania temple, everywhere the same Shilpi is again, Swami has pulled him, and, how he brings people, his people come and do the work.
Bharath, brother, just for the benefit of our viewers, would you say where this is going to be located?
Okay, sorry. So just to give a context of its location, now this Satya Sai Sarla Memorial Hospital, as the name suggests, firstly, is in memory of the great selfless personality of Sarlama, who was the lifetime partner, wife, and wife of revered Indulal Shahji. And so this is in memory of her selfless personality, her devotion to Swami. It's called Sri Satya Sai Sarla Memorial Hospital. It is located in Muddanahalli, just outside our ashram premises, our current ashram premises, on the east of our ashram, which would be like, if you take the road outside the Premamritam gate, you will be, coming into the premises of this hospital. So this is located in the district of Chikbalapur, which has a population of about 1 million. And the Chikbalapur district as such is very, very under-equipped in terms of ICU beds, in terms of hospitals which have oxygenated beds and all that. So this is really the need of the hour, the Desha, the Kala, the Paristhiti. That is, the place, the time, and the context is just perfect for this hospital to manifest in this particular place. So yeah, so that is the geographical location of this hospital. And this is a report as on just a month back, just 14th of May. So of the total of 150 beds, about 98 beds have already been offered, and just about 52 beds are yet to be covered. But then again, a lot of offerings are coming in, and very soon we are expecting that this number to be just getting past. So these are some aerial views of the hospital. You can see the beautiful swastika shape, and a lot of work has happened. Right now all you can see is concrete and mortar, and not the finishing elements like tiling, the painting, and all the other aesthetics will actually come in, which will add life to the whole project. So now if someone is to see the project at this stage and then ask, how is this going to happen by Guru Purnima, which should be about 45 days from now, it is a miracle, and it's only a miracle which will make it possible. And this miracle we have been witnessing with almost every project of Swami ever since at least I have come into the subtle form, and Swami has given this beautiful opportunity of working in his projects wing, taking care of the projects. So how it happens, last minute, the way things move, and miraculously, they just manifest themselves. How people work day in and day out, and how the funds come in just at the nick of the moment. It is just a pleasure, a reaffirmation of faith, as when we witness all of this. So when I was just thinking, how would it be possible? 45 days. How is this hospital going to be commissioned, and all that? I was remembered an incident which happened in 2013. This is what I said, we'll go back to the time when Swami called me to Indulal Shahji's house when I was working in Singapore. What I told in the beginning of the talk, I'm talking about that particular incident. So this was in when I was thinking about how this is going to happen. So many challenges are there. How is this hospital going to come up in such a short time and all that? I was reminded of this incident. Now, this was in 2013 when Swami for the first time called me to the invited me to be part of the subtle phenomenon. So I got a call from Shri Atulji, who's son-in-law of Indulalji. He said, Bharath, there has been one student, an alumni of Swami called Madhusudan Naidu. He's able to see Swami. He's able to hear to Swami. And suddenly Swami has remembered you, and Swami asked you to come down from Singapore, and he wants to meet you on so-and-so date in our house in Bombay. So, of course, for me, I would say that I had this little bit of humility where, I could take this very clear mental approach to the thing, saying that just by being a recipient of Swami's grace for so many years, okay, you might have received n number of interviews with Swami, you might have been very close to Swami physically, but that does not entitle me to be a certifying authority on Swami. Sheer virtue of being close to Swami, recipient of his grace, does not entitle me to pass a judgment saying Swami can do this, Swami cannot do that. So, thankfully, when that little bit of humility was there, I said, Swami can do anything. It is Swami's calling. Let me just book the next flight ticket and just, be there on the date which Swami has asked. So, was there. It was a beautiful session. That was the first time actually I met Brother Madhu at that time. Now, because I joined for MBA in 2003, passed out in 2005, whereas he passed out from MBA in 2003. So I had heard a lot about him, how simple he was, how hardworking he was, how committed he was to, in his devotions to Swami. I had heard of these, and how talented he was. Of course, he was very good in, arts, in the sense, making altars for Swami. The Vrindavan altar which was there was made by him. It was a thermocol, beautiful thermocol based art, this thing. He was good in art, in painting. He was good in, writing scripts for drama. He was a very good speaker. So obviously you had heard of him. The first time, when I was meeting Brother Madhu, and then obviously the way the experiences were all going on, I just knew immediately that it is the same Swami who is talking to him. The interview got over. I will just cut to the chase, not go into the contents of that interview. Towards the end of it, Swami kind of said, see, Singapore, you are in Singapore right now. See, that path is different. That path is different. Our path is different. You leave everything, you resign, you come back. There is a lot of work to do together. And okay, then I took, Swami's blessings, and then that interview got over. I went back to Singapore. And at that time, an amount of world had crept into me, and it was not easy to let go at that time. To just leave and come back. But then later, I got to know through Saralamma herself. Saralamma had a little bit of familiarity with her from Puttaparthi days. So she told me, Bharath, after you left, Swami said that वो अभी नहीं आएगा, he will not come now. जब हॉस्पिटल रेडी होगा, जब हॉस्पिटल होगा, तब वो आएगा. He will come at that time. When the hospital is getting ready for the hospital, he will be there. And none of us knew at that time that there is going to be a hospital in her memory of her. In Satyasai, in Saralamma's name, there is going to be a hospital. That strings of destiny would be pulled in such a manner that I would land up here, be part of Swami's projects, and that, this would be the first work order that would be signed off after coming into Swami's fold here. So when I was thinking of this experience, I thought, so many years back, Swami knew that there would be a hospital. there would be a hospital in memory of Sarlama. That so-and-so person from so-and-so geography would come and join at the right time when it is required. Then why the hell should I be bothered about the completion of this hospital? Now he has already seen it happen. He has already seen this happen. All we have to do is to just do whatever is so-called required to make it happen and just witness this miracle yet again. And as soon as I got reminded of this incident, I shared it with our team, and everybody was up with energy again, saying, wow, we again, let us witness one more miracle which is going to unveil in front of our eyes. So a lot of our alumni are part of this project, and just brother Hani Raman, who is, I think he's also on this call, he's also part of this one. We have Kalyan Chakravarti, he's also working on few aspects of this one. And so many, mostly all of them are alumni. The engineers who are working on this project, people who are managing this project, everybody, all are alumni. And then one day when we went to Swami to, because usually what happens by virtue of being in this particular, projects, so-called. So projects are what? Projects are basically manifestations of Swami's love for everyone. Projects are manifestations of Swami's love for all of us to create opportunities for us so that we can step out of our shell of comfort, zone of comfort, step out from our opportunity for us to step out from our limited sense of individuality where we are just thinking about ourselves and just jump into something where it matters, where it is of help to everybody else. It's that part of that journey from I to we to he. So this project, I feel, is a small, a very beautiful expression of Swami's love, a beautiful platform for all of us where, we can get out of our limited, what about me, what about my family, and just think about something larger than, that. So it also, being part of this projects thing, it also kind of vouchsafes a lot of interactions with Swami. So during one of these interactions recently, when we were discussing about this particular project, Swami said, do you see now? Did you observe one thing? I had always said, no, I'm sharing this experience here because it is a, a lot of our alumni are there here, and it is pertinent to the role of alumni. It is pertinent to any devotee who is in this subtle phenomenon, and it is pertinent to this project also. So Swami said, did you observe one thing? All these projects, all that is unfolding right now are being spearheaded by my children, by my students. I had told this long back. My students who are my property will take my mission forward, will spearhead projects. You just keep watching. You just keep watching. As the years come by, you see how many of my people I will draw to myself and how many will lead in very important roles. And in this journey from I to we to he, as Sister Bhuvana said, to dissolve oneself of one's individual identity and to merge in that oneness is the only mission of Bhagavan. And it is the only reason why even these hospitals and all those are manifesting right now. There are different dimensions to any project which Swami undertakes. And every one of them has the spiritual dimension. Spiritual dimension as in, they say that the essence of any spiritual sadhana, the end result of any spiritual sadhana is effacement of the mind. Effacement of the mind as in effacement of our own sense of individuality as a person who has a separate mind, who has separate thoughts, who has separate prejudices, who has separate opinions, who has a separate identity, saying, I am so and so. I am working as so-and-so, I am father of so-and-so, I am the husband of so-and-so. From there to just dissolve into what is awareness, consciousness, and then just witness everything happening. So these projects, yes, they are the need of the hour. The Sathya Sai Sarla Memorial Hospital is the need of the hour, because we need to ramp up our equipment and be of service to people who need this, who need that breath of air, breath of oxygen. But what is being created is a monument, is a vehicle which can onboard many on the spiritual path. What we are witnessing right now, when people are offering, they are thinking beyond themselves and then offering their hard-earned money. People are leaving their zones of comfort in terms of having a luxurious job, comfort of having a career. They feel, yes, there is an opportunity here. There is a ship here which can take me across, where I can lose my petty sense of life, what it is, just having savings, building a house and all that. And can I be of some help in this hospital? And then this journey begins from I to we. And it is our destiny to culminate in he. It is our destiny. That is why we are all being called here. It is a call of destiny. Right now, yes, the hospital is being built, but a hospital is not just a structure. It means enrollment of a lot of staff, right from the paramedical staff, right from the maintenance staff, right from the doctors, right from the management. It entails the participation. It entails the onboarding of many. So it's a huge, I think of it as a ship which is being created, which can take us safely on this Bhavasagara, starting from the source point of an individual identity, take this journey from I to we to he. And it might look like a small project in itself, 150 bed, but the way Swami has conceived of it, is just mind-blowing. It is just the tip of the iceberg, I would say, even with regard to the Sarla Memorial Hospital. It is starting off as a 150 bedded hospital. But Swami already has plans. In fact, he has announced that he will be doing the Bhumi Puja for the next hospital, another 150 bed hospital on the Guru Purnima day. And he has told there will be a small pediatric heart care center here, which will be like a mini Sanjeevani, which will be training our children, our doctors in pediatric heart care, in surgery, so that they can go and serve in the ecosystem of the hospitals that we have. It is not just our hospitals in Raipur, in Delhi, and in Navi Mumbai in India. Hospitals are coming up in Sri Lanka, in Fiji, it's already come up, in Africa, in US right now, it's starting off as a clinic, it will become a hospital. So who is going to run these hospitals? Who is going to serve in these hospitals? As Swami said, it is his students, his alumni, his devotees. Now, when Swami says my student, we need not be a student of his university. As long as we are following what he says, and he is a priority, he is the only priority in our life. We are not university students, we are universal students. It does not matter whether we are passed out from the portals of his university or no. As long as we are having him as our priority, we are his students. So, this Sarla Memorial Hospital is going to blossom into many more departments, into many more, I would say, escalate into a first, it is going to be a DNB accredited hospital. Then it is going to be there is going to be this mini Sanjeevani hospital. Then there is going to be a medical college as well. Yes, you heard me right. A medical college. as well. Swami is planning for that. Can you think of today's educational scenario where it is totally, interlinked with commerce? We are going to have a medical college which is going to be totally free of cost. And we are going to create those beautiful doctors, able doctors, compassionate doctors who will be part of this beautiful ecosystem that Swami is creating, and take this journey from I to we to he. People talk of sustainability. People talk of sustainability in terms of how are we going to run these hospitals. Think of the sustainability that Swami has thought of in terms of running these hospitals, of onboarding all these beautiful people that he has been nurturing so far. So for want of time, Swami is it's a Bhagavata. Talking about Swami is Bhagavata, Swami's Leelas is a Bhagavata. I would just conclude for want of time. And of all the Vahinis which Swami ventured to write, he had only one book was not concluded. It was the Bhagavata Vahini. How can a Bhagavata Vahini get concluded actually, if you see? As long as there are waves on the ocean, this continuity of waves of devotion from a devotee to the Lord is always going to be there. And this is part of his Bhagavata Vahini. And this is a very, very important wave which has come to invite us to become part of that ocean and to become one in the ocean of that one personality of consciousness. With prayers to Swami, and thanking all of you for having given this opportunity to share these thoughts and the update on this project. Thank you so much. Sai Ram. If anyone of you have any questions to either Sister Bhuvana or to myself, please feel free to ask. Sai Ram.
Thank you, Brother Bharath. And, that was really a wonderful speech. We have always known you as a, eloquent speaker, because we've seen you, speaking the divine presence many a times. And, I would definitely want to mention that it was very thoughtful of you to have literally taken us on a virtual tour of the the Sarla Memorial Hospital, and also, putting forth the vista of opportunities that lay in front of us for those who want to join in this mission. So, thanking you for, putting that across. We have a few questions for Sister Bhuvana. The first one is, how can we improve acting spirituality along with academic schedule and sadhana schedule?
I think we have to remember Swami's words here. See, everything is spiritual, like he says. And it is not about differentiating between what is spiritual, that is in terms of sadhana or, otherwise. Like he says, if we think there is a problem, or if we believe that this is spiritual and not spiritual, he says that, there is an easy way to solve this. And what it is, you have this feeling that offer to God whatever you do. So sarva karma bhagavat prityartam, he says. So see, we all want to do everything perfectly for God, right? So whatever we do, we ensure, even if it is offering nevedhyam to Swami, we ensure it is the best. Even if we offer the fruits to Swami, we ensure it is the best fruits that we offer. So even whether it's office work, whether we are a student, whether we are studying, or whatever work that we do, if we can consider it as an offering to Swami, then like Swami says, everything becomes spiritual. Because when we do it with the feeling that we are doing what we are doing for God, and that we are consciously offering it to God, then that whole activity becomes spiritual. I remember, once, Swami gave a very, very beautiful example. He said, see, there is tap water. You can use this water to wash your car, or you can use it to wash your vessels in your kitchen. You can even use the same water for a sacred, ceremony. The sacredness of the activity is not dependent on the water. He says the water is the same. It rather depends on your intention. If you think it is a sacred activity and that water is being used for a sacred activity, so be it. So when we infuse spirituality in the activity in accordance with our feeling, it is all the same. He says, life is the same. It all depends on our actions, and everything depends on our attitude. So when we have this feeling that everything is spiritual, and that we don't segregate it as this is spiritual or that is spiritual, and which means that we do only what God likes, because obviously when we are offering something to him, it means we only offer the best to him, which means we also will consciously discriminate that the fact that what we have to offer will be the best, and therefore also detached way. So that is the answer I would like to give for that please don't differentiate or segregate as this is spiritual and that is not spiritual. What is spirituality after all? End of the day, it is all the same. It's just the attitude and the intention with which we do something, makes it spiritual. Because at the end of the day, if you go a little deeper, like Swami says, everything is God everywhere. He is there, and we are him, he is us. So when we get into that depth of understanding, then everything is the same. So whether we are a student or whether we are working in an office or whatever it is that we are doing, if we consider it as an offering to God, because at the end of the day, as we are trying to become empty and we are trying to allow that that divinity to take over, or that divinity to project from within, whichever stage we are in, then it just becomes a completely spiritual exercise. Whatever we do becomes spiritual. And I remember in one of the I think it was the youth meet in Germany, where we had a lot of youth, and Swami said, he said, if you want to make every second of yours spiritual, he said, from the time you wake up in the morning till the time you go to bed, he said, let me give you a very simple formula. He said when you wake up in the morning, you ask the God within, should I brush my teeth now, or should I brush my teeth later? Then he said, then you'll go into the kitchen, you ask God, what should I cook? Should I cook this or should I cook that? Should I wear this dress or should I wear this? Swami even got down to the detail of saying, if you have to send an email, say to a colleague at the office, ask God from within, what should I write? What should I write in this email? He said, when you're going in the car, you ask that God from within, should I take the left to go, because there could be two routes to reach your school or the office. So ask God even that little thing, that whether I should take go like this or go like that. So he said, every little thing, when you start asking from within, in the beginning you may not realize, or you may not understand the difference, whether it is your mind speaking or whether it is God speaking. But within let me say that with my experience, as you start questioning this at all times, there will come a point when you will know that your voice is nothing but the inner God's voice, which is coming from within. So then everything becomes spiritual and everything becomes an offering to the divine. Saira.
Bhuvana, the next question for you. You have mentioned that if one gets an opportunity given by Swami to do something for him, one must take it up. What if one has missed the opportunity and being stuck in the state of having missed the opportunity given by Swami?
Again, this is also, take it as something which is meant to be. Okay. I remember once, asking Swami, I said, it was in a very light note, but, I did have a question. I said, Swami, many times, from, so many decades, we've seen you, you'll come and you will ask somebody, what is your name? Where have you come from? What are you doing? I said, Swami, you ask such questions like you don't know about it. And for that minute or for that moment, we all get caught, and we all, sort of get carried away by the fact that you've asked this question, and then we tell you, this is my name, or this is where I come from, or this is what I do. And then at the end of the day, Swami, we have this, this sort of doubt. Was that really God? Because if it was God, God would know everything. So how should we see it is what I'd asked Swami. And then, Swami told me very, very beautifully. He said, see, you need to see the divinity through everything. And that is what this is. You need to see the divinity through everything, because like he says, not a blade of grass moves without his will. If we have that firm faith and conviction that whatever it was meant to, and we go with that attitude that if it is meant to be, that opportunity will come back. If it is meant to be, it will present itself. I think that's where the whole thing lies, because at the end of the day, it all depends on how we are seeing it, and therefore how we want God to take over that sort of aspect in us. So that is what it is. So if we firmly believe that not a blade of grass will move, and also see, Swami gives us, or God gives us, all of these experiences. He puts us through challenges. He puts us through all these situations for us to learn something. So maybe through this, there was a learning which came, and that was what actually surfaced, and that was what was meant to be, because everything is a learning. Every single aspect is a learning. So I think keeping that in mind, to say, okay, whatever has happened for the best, and now you are open to that, to say, if it comes, if it presents itself again, if it is meant to be, it will be. I think that will be sort of a great attitude to move forward with.
So we have one question for Brother Bharath. Will Bhumi Puja for the next hospital on Guru Purnima be at Mudanahalli or in the neighborhood?
Brother Bharath, please unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah. So I'm assuming this Bhumi Puja is with regard to the Bhumi Puja of the next phase of the hospital, which we spoke about. So this will be in the nearby precincts of the hospital in Mudanahalli, in a place nearby, neighboring the hospital.
Okay.
This will again be Bhumi Puja for, I think, another 150 bedded hospital, which Swami is planning. And once again, I would like to just say this with a disclaimer that we'll always have to love is in uncertainty, and this 150 bedded, another 150 bedded can become a 300 bedded hospital. It can be a totally different thing. But as on date, this is where it is planned.
Okay. So I guess that brings us to the end of today's Connect to Reconnect series, and we're very, very grateful to Swami for willing this, and I'm sure all of us will agree that both eloquent speakers did reiterate and rejuvenate us. They brought in the element of joy, and apart from that, I think their speeches have been highly instrumental in instilling a lot of spiritual courage for us, in showing us how we can lose our individuality and learn to live with and in the constant presence of the consciousness, which is the only thing that exists in the universe, and which only thing which ever existed from the beginning of the universe. So stay tuned for further updates on the next alumni Connect to Reconnect series. And thanks to all for justifying this particular evening, because definitely it has given us a reconnect not only with each other, but also it has given us a strong connect to God. And we will sign off with this wonderful spiritual thought.
Akka,
Yes.
one point. So I think some people were asking if this can be published on YouTube. We are trying to publish these sessions on our Children for Satya Sai CFSS official. That's a channel's name. I have shared the link in the chat box. So you could subscribe to this channel. We'll try to upload this as soon as possible. These sessions we'll try to publish on or we'll even try live streaming of this. But we are trying out few technical functionalities. We'll keep you all posted. But for now, you can subscribe to the channel. We'll upload the video. Thank you. Please carry on, Akka.
Yeah, special thanks to Sister Bhuvana and Brother Bharath for setting aside time and giving such wonderful talks from their end. Thank you so much. We'll finish with the Shanti Mantra. We'll do Samasta Loka also. Om Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, thank you. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, thank you, everybody.